This morning, you probably traveled farther than your ancestors once could in an entire day. You stepped into a car, pressed a pedal, and arrived within minutes. It felt completely ordinary. But for almost all of human history, every journey began the same way. One step, then another. There were no roads, no maps, no bridges. No engines waiting to carry you forward, only your own body. Every mile meant more time, more effort, and more danger. And yet somehow humans reached every continent on Earth. How? The answer begins with something you rarely think about: your feet. Humans are not the fastest animals. A horse can outrun us. A cheetah leaves us behind in seconds. But speed was never our greatest advantage. We were built for endurance. The arches in our feet store energy with every step. The Achilles tendon acts like a spring. Millions of sweat glands keep us cool while other large mammals overheat. You may only walk a few miles today, but your body still carries the design that once allowed your ancestors to cross entire continents. Long before wheels, ships, or horses, humanity conquered the world one step at a time. Around 70,000 years ago, humans began leaving Africa. Not as one enormous migration, but as thousands of small journeys. A family walked a little farther than the last generation. Their children settled there. Then their grandchildren kept moving. Step by step, humans spread into the Middle East, across Asia, into Europe, through Siberia, and eventually into the Americas. Some of those journeys covered thousands of miles. But here is what many people get wrong. Our ancestors were not simply wandering. Archaeologists have discovered volcanic glass hundreds of miles from its nearest source. Seashells have been found far inland. Amber traveled across mountain ranges long before written history. These discoveries tell us something remarkable. People already knew where valuable resources could be found. They exchanged information. They traded with distant groups. They traveled with purpose. Humanity had created a network long before roads ever existed. But eventually, every journey reached the same obstacle: a river too wide to cross. A coastline stretching beyond the horizon. For the first time, walking was no longer enough. And the next great breakthrough would change human history forever. For thousands of years, rivers and oceans were the greatest barriers humans had ever faced. You could climb a mountain, you could cross a desert. But a wide stretch of water could stop an entire journey. Then at some point, everything changed. Someone climbed onto a floating log and didn't sink. That simple moment may have become one of the greatest discoveries in human history. The first boats were probably nothing more than logs, bundles of reeds, or rough wooden rafts. They were not perfect. They only had to float. But humans quickly realized something extraordinary. Water was no longer a wall. It had become a road. Around 65,000 years ago, groups of humans crossed open sea from Southeast Asia to Australia. They couldn't see the land waiting on the other side. There were no maps, no compass. Only courage, experience, and the belief that something lay beyond the horizon. That journey transformed humanity. For the first time, humans reached places that walking alone could never reach. But another challenge remained. Even after conquering the sea, people still faced a problem every hunter understood. You could travel farther than ever before, but you still couldn't carry very much. Distance was no longer the greatest challenge, weight was. A hunter could walk for miles, but bringing a large animal back to camp was another story. The human body can only carry so much before exhaustion takes over. So our ancestors found a simple solution. They stopped carrying, they started dragging. Heavy animals were pulled across the ground on hides, and later on wooden frames that spread the weight more evenly. With one small invention, a single person could move far more than their own strength allowed, but even that had limits. Humans needed something stronger. Something that never grew tired as quickly as they did. So they formed the first great partnership in history. Dogs came first, helping pull sleds and supplies across snow and ice. Then came the breakthrough that transformed civilization: the horse. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans traveled at walking speed. Almost overnight, that changed. A horse could carry heavier loads, travel farther, and move many times faster than any person on foot. The world suddenly became smaller. People, ideas, and goods could now reach places that once felt impossibly distant. Even with horses, one problem remained. Carrying heavy loads over long distances was still slow and difficult. Then came one of history's simplest inventions, the wheel. Surprisingly, it appeared much later than most people imagine. Humans had already crossed oceans and settled distant islands thousands of years before the first wheeled vehicles existed. At first, the wheel was not built for travel at all. It was used to shape clay into pottery. Only later did someone imagine placing it beneath a load. That single idea changed everything. Combined with horses and roads, the wheel allowed people to move goods, armies, and entire civilizations farther and faster than ever before. Trade flourished, cities expanded. Empires connected lands that once seemed impossibly distant. Today, we cross continents in hours and complain when traffic delays us by a few minutes. Distance has become almost invisible, but every highway, every railway, every airport, and every bridge exists because countless generations refused to accept the limits of the world around them. Long before engines, before maps, before civilization itself, someone looked toward an unknown horizon and decided to take the first step. That simple decision may have been the beginning of everything.